4,000 years ago, human civilization was already recording its own history. In the river cities of the Euphrates, clerks were pressing marks into wet clay to count out measures of grain. A small herd of woolly mammoths was still breathing on an Arctic island during that exact same hour. They grazed on the tundra while the fog rolled in off the sea, entirely unaware of the cities rising to the south. This herd survived on Wrangel Island, a remote scrap of land north of the Siberian coast. Rising sea levels had turned the mainland's edge into a sanctuary, sealing these animals away from the rest of the world for thousands of years. The last mammoths shared the planet with our first accountants and kings. They lived into the age of cities and writing, a final thread of the Ice Age that reached into the recorded human story. Their extinction is a recent event, not a prehistoric memory. Textbooks often blame a warming climate for the disappearance of these giants. But the Earth swung from dozens of extreme ice ages over the last 2 million years, and the great herd survived every one of those thaws until people arrived. The losses correlate precisely with human expansion. As people spread into Australia, the Americas, and the remote islands, the largest animals of those lands began to vanish within centuries of our coming. Only the continent of Africa managed to walk out of the last 50,000 years with its giants still standing. Africa is where the human family and the giants grew up beside each other. Over millions of years, the animals there learned to recognize the danger of bipedal hunters and adapted in step with our own evolution. The emptying of the rest of the world was an accident of bad timing. If the giants of the Americas or Australia had been given that same million-year apprenticeship to adapt, our modern world would still be full of them. In our alternate timeline, the modern Arctic is not a thawing, mossy bog. It is a vibrant, cold grassland maintained by millions of massive herbivores that prevent the trees and shrubs from taking hold. Mammoths tread winter snow thin, stripping away the soft blanket that traps the Earth's warmth, allowing deep cold to grip the ground. This seals a massive permafrost vault, holding twice the carbon of the entire sky, kept locked by the weight of moving animals. In our timeline, the lack of giants means the snow lies undisturbed all winter. Underneath that insulation, the old ground has begun to soften and stir, exhaling its long-held carbon back into the atmosphere. These animals are the physical labor that manufactures the climate. By grazing and trampling the north, they stabilize the temperature of the entire planet. Further south, the giants leave a different kind of mark. Take an ordinary avocado. The single smooth stone inside is far too large for a bird or a monkey to carry and swallow whole. The avocado is an evolutionary widow. It produces a rich, calorie-dense bribe designed to be eaten by a giant ground sloth or an ancient elephant that no longer exists. When the giants were here, they functioned as a continental circulatory system. They filled their guts in fertile valleys and carried that richness uphill and inland on their own 4 legs, pumping seeds and nutrients against the natural drift of gravity. A continent this full of hungry giants requires a check on their appetite. Predators like the saber-toothed cat are the system's regulators, wrestling prey to the ground to keep the numbers balanced. These predators are the biological pruners of the world. By taking the young and the sick, they ensure the herds never grow large enough to eat the green world down to roots. Sharing a modern civilization with these giants requires paying a brutal, permanent tax. Every farming community must plant extra crops against the nights the herds come through, accepting the destruction as a standard cost of survival. We see this friction in modern nations like India or Sri Lanka, where elephants walk the paved roads and raid sugar fields. It is a logistical clash between human infrastructure and animals that demand their own space. Humanity never domesticated these giants like cattle. Instead, they formed wary partnerships with wild things in chains, training individual mammoths to haul heavy timber or carry soldiers into war, while the species remained essentially wild. This alternate world is fuller and more alive, but it is also permanently dangerous. Humans are powerful here, but they are never entirely in control of the landscape. We wake up in a different version of history. We live in an emptied, quiet landscape, where the largest animals vanished from almost every continent. Modern laboratories are now attempting to bridge this gap. Companies are investing in genetic technology to manufacture a version of the woolly mammoth, using the cells of its closest living cousins. The actual biological truth is that the mammoth's DNA is shattered into millions of useless fragments. Scientists are instead editing the genome of an Asian elephant, writing in the code for shaggy hair and small ears to create a cold-resistant proxy. But a genome is not a species. Without the herd to teach it how to live, a lab-grown calf will never be a mammoth. The original animal and the culture it carried remains gone forever. We are spending fortunes reaching for these giants because we feel their absence. There is a deep, unspoken ecological loneliness in a world where we are the only giant presence left. Our ancestors did not see these animals as monsters or myths. They went into the dark with charcoal and ochre to draw them with a mastery that shows a lifetime of watching and deep, reverent intimacy. The tragedy is how close they came to reaching us. The last mammoths survived for thousands of years against the odds, only to fall at the very end to a few hard seasons and a narrowing world. Realizing we live in an unnaturally empty timeline should force us to protect the giants we have left in Africa and Asia. We simply cannot bring the mammoths back, but we can ensure our world doesn't get any lonelier.